Peace profound and personal power. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Ascension show. We bring you the teachers, healers, thinkers, and feelers to provide you with the information and inspiration to ascend your life. We're gonna have some fun today, but before we get started, I want to give a special thanks to our studio audience who came out today to help us welcome our guest. You could have been anywhere, but you took your time to come here and spend it with us. So thank you. Give yourselves a hand. So, getting started today, just a quick introduction. Jimmy Sunshine, I'm really interested in getting to talk to you and learn about your story. I really feel like I caught you at a time that was, I don't think you know this, but whenever I think of you, I think of butterfly. I'm always thinking about where you were whenever I met you. I feel like I caught you at really a profound time. And some of the events that led to your transformation is what I really want to talk about. And I feel like whenever you met this person, for me, I feel like that was probably a pretty profound event that happened in your life. So I'm interested to talk about that. Gemma, author, speaker, traveler, general spiritual badass.
Thank you.
We all know you, and we're really excited to hear about your story. I think that a lot of the people, whenever they watch the show, they're sort of stuck in a sort of the rat race, the one way, a cog in the wheel kind of thing. And the thing that really sticks out to me about you is it's almost like you're making a statement, like, I am not going to go down that path. I'm going to do things my way.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. I really want to talk about that. But first of all, starting out. So, Jimmy, who are you? But no, what I mean though is I want to get a sense of an idea of who you are, where you came from, and what sort of prompted and sparked your transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you saying the butterfly.
Absolutely.
Because when I did meet you, it very much was that space of coming alive for me, coming alive. And up until that point, I've been a little suburban boy, growing up raised, just in the classic Huntley, Illinois suburbs. And I decided to venture out to explore spirituality and explore what I was learning on my own spirituality, where I had no relationships that I could really deeply converse with the similar belief systems that I was discovering. So I came to Kansas. I came to a beautiful place, the Light Center in Kansas, which is a spiritual retreat center and healing place, and also a sustainable living community. And so I came there to work and experience. And on my second visit there, Gemma was this catalyst for me to really my own awakening. In the mirror of Gemma, and seeing this person who was living so freely, so powerfully, so co-creatively with the source, I felt unstoppable. I saw all the qualities in her that I knew I could access in myself. And by being in her presence and being in her association and the wisdom that she shared with me, I just grabbed on. And I was like, this is for me, and I'm not gonna let go. And I'm gonna ride this wave no matter where it takes me.
Wow. It's dedication right from the get-go. It was just a brilliant reflection for you, and it really reinforced what you were already starting to learn and pick up on your own, and really help you to shine. Yeah,
I love that. It brought to life what I was learning. It brought to life what I was learning. Like I was experiencing these spiritual concepts and philosophies, and and Gemma was just living them. Wow. She was just living that, living with source, living with oneness. And I was like, whoa, this is for me, And I was just such a kid at the time. I was so youthful and adolescent, and to find someone who inspired me to blast into my own maturity, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. It gave me an opportunity to rise into my purpose, rise into my path very quickly.
That's interesting. And so she was really embodying what you were already kind of figuring out on your own, and the spiritual processes and all of that you were figuring out. You see the embodiment of it right there in front of you. That's interesting. And so, but whenever I met you, you didn't introduce yourself as Jimmy Sunshine.
I did not.
That's not your real name, is it?
I slipped.
So where does the name come from, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So my legal first name is Jake. That's what I was born and raised as. The first majority of my first 20 years as. And when I came on my second visit to the Light Center, the trip where I met Gemma, 3 times in 1 week I had heard of people changing their names. And I knew that people like changed their name. Yeah, I knew that they did that. But I didn't know that people did that with purpose and with meaning. And Gemma actually was the second person that I heard share that story of changing her name. And the way that she described the power in that choice was a catalyst for me to really sit with, is that mine to do? And I love my name. I had nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong with my name. I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't feel like I needed to escape the pains of who that person was.
Okay.
And I know that's a lot of reasons people change their names, to escape that pain.
To leave something behind.
To leave something behind.
Right.
And for me, it was less of leaving something behind, more of pulling something new in. And Jimmy was a name. I had another friend when I was growing up. His name was also Jake, and so sometimes he'd call me Jimmy, just as a distinction, you know. But I always responded to that. Just responded to that, and it wasn't even a resonance. It was more so just natural. Like I never questioned it. I never questioned the way I was just responding to that call.
Okay.
And so when I was sitting with this, that name popped in. I go, Jimmy. I was like, oh man, maybe that's it.
Okay. And so you just stepped into that, and now Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And I like that you alluded to Gemma as being somebody that kind of helped spark that, because that's not your name either, is it? So where does that, Gemma, what is that and where does that come from?
Well, first, before I even go into anything, I just want to say it just feels so unique and a little awkward and exciting that I'm being talked about. You know what I mean? I'm like sitting right here and I'm like, oh wow, I'm being love blasted. So thank you.
You're definitely somebody to be talked about.
No, thank you.
Sure.
Hopefully in a good way.
Most of the time. We'll see how this.
Not everything you
goes.
hear. Yeah. So I had my name shift actually when I'm Floridian, right? Born and raised in Florida. And when I moved up to Gainesville, which has been my tribe now, you know, for about half of my lifetime. And when I first moved up there, I was given this name by, I was given Gemma by this beautiful male shaman who is an artist and one of the most heart-centered loving men I know to this day. Communicates with plant spirits like that, you know, just incredible being. And he took one look at me and he was like, Gemma! And I had just moved up from Tampa, Florida, so, I mean, Tampa, you know, was like cool and, you know, wore little mini skirts and go-go boots. I was like, Gemma! I sound like Jamie, you know, and I'm like, these hippies, you know, like, I don't know what that is, but anyway, he never called me by my birth name, which is Lacey. Right. And I love Lacey. It's such a beautiful, luscious, sexy name, you know, it's very pretty. And I too don't have a problem with my name. Right. So my given name, my birth name. But anyway, so I knew that it was some type of like spiritual name, and he never called me by my birth name again, and he referred to me as Gemma for years. And then I went through a very powerful experience through Sabatova Institute, which I know that you're also well acquainted with. And this was actually my second time taking the advanced course, and I decided to confront a core wound that had me disassociated from the true power of my being. So for me, I grew up in a really challenging setting where I constantly just wanted to die, wanted to check out. And then by the time I hit about 15 years old, I made a decision that it was not okay to be me. And I adapted a personality after like studying what the popular girl walk, talk, and look like. And I changed schools and I turned into a chameleon. And they bought it, yeah. And yeah, exactly. And then I began to identify with that persona and kind of like abandon whoever the me was, because the me before was a constant magnet and target for abuse and trauma and rejection, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental, emotional, like it just sucked to be me, yeah. And so that whole shift of being someone else and running a business. I ran a healing center that way. I ran a poetry open mic that way, where we'd get like hundreds of people every show. I was really successful not being me.
Okay. Yeah, really
it
was
working out for me, you know what I mean?
Awesome at wearing masks.
Exactly.
I know all about that.
Exactly. And so when I revisited the Sabatova Advanced course through Sabatova Institute, I decided to address that core reason of why did I abandon me so long ago, and now I've been living this way for half of my life. And when I decided I was going to tackle that and make peace with myself and truly love and come back in alignment with myself, I heard Gemma from my guidance. Now I talk to my spirit guides. I work with my angels. And I have for years. I'm a non-denominational minister, right? And I'm actually now the president of my grandmother's church, New Horizons, which she founded over 40 years ago to give a space for women to actually become ministers. So I get to proudly carry on that legacy for her because she's already crossed into the light. But anyway, so my guidance, they're like, Gemma. And I was like, what does Gemma even mean, you know? And so I had, yeah, exactly. So I happen to have two of my friends who were like Indian background descent, India descent. And I said, I was like, yo, what does Gemma mean? Apparently that's my spiritual name. I was given it years ago. I don't even know what it means. And they were like, yo, your spiritual name is Gemma. And they just lost it, just cracking up. And they were like, it means hail to the goddess, like victory to the divine mother, And I was like, shut up. Yeah. I was like, that's my name, I was like, I'm gonna start wearing that, Why not, right? And little did I know that, like stepping into a mantra, because this is a Sanskrit mantra, like people actually chant Gemma, Gemma, and that sound frequency, that vibration, actually summon force and welcomes the feminine aspect of the divine back in harmony with the masculine divine on our planet. I get chills saying that. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I have goosebumps. For sure.
It's powerful. It's all about the masculine feminine harmony, by invoking that. But little did I know that to let people like project a mantra at me, it just shape-shifted me, like it took me on a journey, okay? And ripped me open and tore me apart, and all the mask and the layers and the protective mechanisms that I had been comfortably wearing for half of my life started to shred away, especially by doing the work in Saboteur Institute. So for me, choosing to step into a spiritual name, right? It meant that, like for me, our birth name is kind of like a karmic script. It's like, here you go, get ready. Here's your obstacle course this lifetime, right? And mine was not easy. Mine was very painful. I tried to check out many times. And so for me, it was like, Lacey and all the energy that Lacey had to go through in order to survive as Lacey. Lacey's a warrior. She's a fighter. You know what I mean? She's also a little cray. She's a little crazy, a little wild, right? Right? There's got to be personality there somewhere, right? But I realized that the fight was over. That I didn't have to fight anymore. That there was no need to compromise myself anymore or settle for less than what I wanted and deserved anymore. There was nothing to go up against anymore. I truly decided the freedom of my soul. And that's what Gemma means to me. So that's like the name that Spirit has given me. That meant I'm totally free. That I'm not carrying on the baggage of the past and not carrying on the baggage of old projection. Yeah. So that's why the name is special for me, and I've been embodying it for ever since, over 10 years. And even and people celebrated the name change, and because they, people in my life really see me, right? And then people from the past, that like family members and people who actually really don't know me very well. They might be family, but they don't really know me very well, right? And so it's just not their paradigm. And so when they call me Lacey, it's like, oh, who is that? It's like, because it's such an old experience of struggle and fight that I no longer identify with.
Identify with it.
Right.
You had that line in the sand moment where you transformed.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that that's what we're talking about, is these change of names as a symbol of transformation.
That's right.
And I love that we're celebrating that. A lot of times, as we're going through this kind of global transformation, I think a lot of times we haven't mourned the life that we've left behind.
Right.
And so whenever we make that kind of a stand in a moment, line in the sand moment, it's like then you can have that moment where you can realize what you've left behind in order to fully embrace what you're moving into. And I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
And talking about transformation, thank you, by the way, thank you for sharing about your past and things that have gone on. What I really want to kind of express and move towards is talking about your life then and transforming to your life now. I mean, like as I was saying before, it seems like you're saying, I'm not going to live a normal life. Where did you get the inspiration for that? You know, how do you have the courage to be able to trust your intuition and know that you're going to be able to create the life that you want to create?
Yeah, thank you for that. I feel like my life I've moved from the zombie land to the promised land.
Absolutely, I love that.
Right?
I love that.
And so, you know, like in that gap, that's where the transformation has been.
Okay.
And I don't even know where that beginning moment for me was. I just one day decided, it was actually a memorable story is when I was going to college, and I was so tired when I got there. And I'm a smart person. I could do well if I focused and apply myself. But I'd get to college and I would have ADD. I just could not pay attention. I'd be sitting in math class, and I was a spoken word poet, like a slam poet at the time.
Right.
And I would have these slam pieces like channeling in while I'm trying to like do numbers. And I'm like, what is going on here, right? And then one day I asked myself a very important question that I think every young person should ask themselves. And that is, why am I here? You know, why am I at school? What is a mass communications degree anyway? I felt like I had been herded, you know, into a system because like I'm the eldest born, you know, upper white middle class. That's what we do after high school. You know what I mean?
Set out for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that unfortunately, too many people ask that question: why am I here? Who is creating my life? When they reach the midpoint of their life, and then they have a midlife crisis. Well, thank God I had my midlife crisis in my early 20s. You know what I mean? I was just like, I freaked out. I was like, what is this? What is this path? And I think that day, like I'm not anti-school and education. I love education.
You're just saying be present and
yes.
know why you're here.
Like, why am I here? Like, I don't know what this degree is about. You know, the counselor told me that this is what I should do. You know, I wanted to do acting. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so. And I decided to walk back to my car and not come back to school until I knew why I was there and I wanted something. And I thought I'd be coming back to school one day, and I never went back. You know, like I didn't even finish my AA. And that was when my life unfolded. Like the path started coming to me. So I started experiencing transformational type experiences, healing workshops. I became a spoken word poet.
So, but why though? Why did that happen to you? Is this something you feel like because you started reaching out to the universe, it was reaching back to you, or why do you feel like that happened? Because there's a lot of people that struggle.
I know. I appreciate that. Like, but it was that moment where I challenged what I was creating. I challenged it because I knew that something was off. Like, why am I so tired all the time? You know, like why do I feel like I have ADD? I can't focus, and I think ADD is a protective mechanism because to keep information that's not meant for our brain from going in.
Interesting.
Because the minute your passion comes to you, then all of a sudden you're hyper focused. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, and I discovered that, right? So, but because I was challenging, like, why am I tired? Why do I feel like I have to go? Like, why can't I focus? And I was like, wait a minute, why am I here? What is this degree about anyway? And because I was asking those very uncomfortable questions, and then I got real with the answers. That it wasn't me, like my choices, or my conscious choices rather, that had led me down this path. It was the pressure of society and my parents and family and the shoulds and everything else, right? And I challenged that, and I was like, nope. I was like, this is my life, you know. What is my life made of? And just deciding to walk back to my car versus going to class that night. That's when it was like that pivotal moment. Like I stopped being entangled in a path that was not mine to have, and because I freed up my energy and I just became open. I'm like, I don't know, who am I? What is going to drive me? And I became open. That's when the energy started coming to me. The path started to unfold to me. So and then, like, for example, I became a clinical hypnotherapist. I never knew I was going to be a hypnotherapist as a kid. Like, who says I'm going to grow up and hypnotize people? You know what I mean, right? And like, I never knew I'd become a minister. I never knew that that I'd be running like charitable or like a charitable poetry open mic that would raise thousands of dollars for charity. I didn't know these things about me because I was too busy being asleep and hypnotized into the what we're supposed to do in order to grow up and do it right.
That's what I'm interested in right there, because I feel like a lot of the world is asleep.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have the mission to wake people up. And so that's the moment that I'm interested in right there, and I appreciate that. It sounds like you have the awareness to understand that you weren't on the path that you had created for yourself.
Right.
You were living somebody else's life.
Somebody else's dream.
Somebody else's dream.
That's right.
You also have the courage
Yes.
to face it and to look at it and say, hey, you know what? I don't know what I wanted, but it ain't this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you did have some idea of where you want to go, but you knew it wasn't that, so you had the courage to change it.
Yes.
And to challenge it.
Right.
I heard you use that word, and I think that is really important.
Yes.
And so you were talking about, I noticed, I remember you were talking about Sabato.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Gemma, I wanted to talk to you about, in your transformation, and whenever I saw you at Sabato, I saw you different. You know what I mean? What does it mean to you? And like, so what I mean by that is I'm trying to get you to talk about what you feel like transformation should be. What transformation are you making in your life, and what do you feel like is your goal? Like, where do you want to be? What are you developing within yourself? What are you creating for yourself?
Yeah, what transformation do I desire to move into, and what transformation have I already chosen to do?
Absolutely. And like you're set in your Sabato, and whenever you're facilitating there, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
What have you picked up from that?
Yeah. So I feel for me, transformation since I met you and met Gemma right around that time and on has been this non-stop circulating movement. And so as I transform into something new, very quickly I see the next thing I want to transform into. And that's been a challenge for me. Transformation has been a challenge for me in that means. Because there's so much to transform into. We're such infinite beings that, oh wow, I can have this quality and that quality, and I can do these things, and I need to be this kind of man to do that. And so for me, transformation at times has been, the focus on transformation has been challenging and detrimental at times. Because it's put me in a place of feeling that, oh, because I have yet to transform into that, I'm not good enough. And
you're looking at it from that place of lack and not having attained it yet.
Rather than putting in the perspective of how much transformation I have cultivated for myself and the beauty of the qualities that I've already stepped into.
That's awesome.
And so that's something I'd like to say on transformation, is that it can be challenging if we're chasing it, if we're chasing transformation. And I think what's becoming more and more comfortable for me is allowing transformation. And to me, allowing transformation is when in my daily life something comes up and it's a clear mirror for me that, oh, this is time for me to shift. It's time for me to shift deeper into the quality of responsibility. It's time for me to shift into serving my family and my community in a deeper way. And in the past I could be chasing like, oh, I can see how I could serve more powerfully here, and then I gotta do that. And it's like, no, I'm whole and complete. I'm whole and complete. And when a message comes to me clearly, then I make a choice, and I'm going to transform again.
So it sounds like you're releasing a lot of the resistance. It's like you were pressuring yourself when you needed to take, whenever it was something that you needed to do and force your way into it, that wasn't comfortable, and that's not the way that you want to progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I was attached to transforming. I was attached to transforming, which is a sticky place, and that's the place that can actually hold us from transforming.
Wow, how tricky is that?
It is tricky.
Yeah. So it's like really having that awareness. I think that's really beautiful that you have that consciousness. You're able to do that. I think I wrote down something that you were talking about, because I think that it's really amazing, like talking about the possibilities. Because I think that is something that's really got me. Whenever I jump down the rabbit hole, you know what I mean? It's like all of these different possibilities and channels open up to you, and sometimes it's just kind of hard to like stay focused on what you are actually trying to and where you are trying to go.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's beautiful being able to kind of taste and experience and know that all of those things exist while still being able to focus on where you're going and just allow it in. Be able to just allow it in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. It's so easy to see step 30. It's so easy to see step 30. And that step 30 looks so amazing. It looks so bright, so vibrant, so cool that you're like, yeah, I just want step 30. But if you're putting your attention and focus on step 30, you're never going to be able to see step 1. And it's that seeing the step 1 that's going to allow you to ever get to step 30.
If you're focusing on step 30, then you're not going to be able to focus on step 1.
Yeah.
Man, okay. So, and that just really resonates with me where I am right now because, you know, Katie hears me all the time. I'm always talking about just take the next step. Because we look at a project or where we're trying to go or anything, and we look at the fullness of it, and it's like, wow, but this is a huge thing to undertake. But what I'm learning so much is just take that next step.
Yes.
Because once you do that, all these other possibilities open up.
Yes.
That you didn't even see before, because you couldn't see clearly in step 30. All you need to do is to see step 1.
Yes.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so talking about stepwise things and processes, and that's how we're gonna make this transformation. I read your book and it's beautiful. I love how it's laid out. The concepts in it, they're not out there so much that you can't relate to them, but they're big enough to get you excited about your life. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Break Through Your Threshold, a manual for faith-based manifestation and co-creating with God. What's the threshold?
What's the threshold?
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, so I define a threshold as a barrier of consciousness, right? So we cross over a threshold of consciousness. We break through a threshold of consciousness, yeah? We walk through the threshold of the doorway, right? You go from one room into a total different room, a total different experience. So for me, the threshold of consciousness is that exact obstacle, that exact place where you have sold out on yourself up until now. Okay? That's why we think obstacles are real. Obstacles don't exist, they're not real, but the place where we give up our power, where we sell out on ourselves, all of a sudden we see that thing as an obstacle. So that's your threshold of consciousness. So whenever you create something that's bigger than you right now, right? Like more expansive than where you're at right now.
Right.
And there's no goal that's bigger than you, but goals that require you to be a bigger you. Yeah?
There's
no goal. There is no goal bigger than you, just goals that require you to be a bigger you.
Awesome.
So your vision, all of your goals, all of your heart desires are a stand for you to expand, a stand for you to grow, to step into higher qualities of the soul, yeah? Okay. And you have to confront the threshold of consciousness, that obstacle mirror, yeah? Like an obstacle shows forth and it basically shows you your shit. It's okay to cuss on the show, right? It shows you exactly what you believe about yourself and why you've sold out about yourself. And so if you can confront that obstacle mirror and change something within you, have a paradigm shift, have a perception shift, and decide that whatever this is not going to come in between me and what I want ever again. It's a decision.
So that's getting ready to say.
Yes.
So you're saying it's just a decision.
It's a decision. It's so simple. It's not like you've got to change the obstacle or hack away at the obstacle or beat it to death or get somebody to help you move the obstacle, right? Because that can be the tendency. What we're doing is literally deciding that's not an obstacle. It's a consideration. I'm going to handle that in integrity, but that is not an obstacle for me. Do you see what I mean?
Reframing that.
Exactly. So it's a decision, and once you decide that, you break through that invisible barrier that I call the threshold, and you enter what I describe as the vacuum effect, where everything that you were seeking is now seeking you. So everything you want is now coming for you, right? The right synchronicities, the opportunities line up, the money appears out of nowhere. You're like, where did all this come from? Where did all this abundance come from? Yeah. And then that's where the magic is breaking through your thresholds of consciousness.
That's beautiful. I love that concept. And you said something. You said that the divine would never place a desire in your heart without the resources to follow through.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Are you saying that anything that I think about, or if I have a desire, then it's in my ability and it's almost my duty to fulfill it?
Yes, like a calling, right? And let me distinguish a heart desire.
Okay.
The divine would never place a desire in your heart.
Okay. Cool.
Because I've had people say, well, we have addiction desires in our head, and what about our sexual desires? And I'm like, did you not listen to what I said? I'm like, listen.
You say in your groins.
Exactly. God wouldn't place a desire in your groin. You did that. You know what I mean? Right? Come on, people.
Right.
So, I mean, where does God live? You know, like, where does Source live? It lives in our heart. And our heart is not the thinker. The mind is the thinker. And the mind can be polluted. The mind can be hypnotized with many limiting beliefs, especially based on our traumas, our experiences, our pains, what people tell us about ourselves, our failures. So the mind is not very trustworthy. We have intelligence, but it's not as trustworthy as the heart. And even science is now proving that the heart is like millions of times more intelligent, right, powerful, than the mind.
You're gonna find neurons in the heart.
Yes, and the heart doesn't think, doesn't have a thought. The heart either opens or it closes. It's intuitive intelligence, emotional intelligence. So, and if God lives in the heart, if that's where our alignment is, so whenever we are truly listening to divine calling, divine heart desire, the heart opens. It's like, it feels so young, there's joy, it wants to sing, it wants to fly, right? And whenever the heart closes and there's pressure, that's because what we're letting into our experience is illusion. So if I were to sit here and say, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, your heart would start to shut down because I'm spitting off illusion at you. Do you see?
Okay, it recognizes truth.
Exactly. The heart always knows what's true. But the mind, let's say if you had a belief system that you were stupid, your mind might actually be in agreement. You're like, oh yeah, I am stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, help.
There was that one time whenever I...
Exactly. So you might be nodding your head agreeing with the illusion because you're programmed that way. Meanwhile, your heart is shutting down as if something's stepping on it, saying, no, that's false, that's off. So how often are we listening to our heart? How often are we listening to that divine calling? That God would never place the desire in our heart, right? Without the resources to follow through. So this is the second part of this, right? Yeah. So if your heart opens, if you have an inspired, like a heart desire, like, I want to play music, I want to be a public speaker, I want to write that book, I want to open up that healing spiritual center, I want to call in the love of my life, and that's like it's juicy, and it's like vibrating in your heart.
Just hearing you say that, I'm like,
I know, I'm giving myself chills. I'm getting anointed by the Holy Spirit. No, the heart is so young, because that's where all the truth is downloaded, is there. And so the idea is that God will never place a desire in our heart without the resources to follow through, because God's not a jerk or an idiot. Yeah, right. The source divine is pure love. And it's pure support, and the heavens wants to see you succeed.
Because that would be torture. Like,
yes.
Hey, you could be doing this. Too bad you
didn't
have it.
Right, exactly. Like a source puts a desire in your heart, and you start to follow it, and the source is like, never mind, I'm not gonna have your back on that. You know what I mean? Nothing for you, right?
Yes, I love that concept.
Seriously.
I think that's really powerful, because I think a lot of times, whenever we're kids, we have these desires and these dreams. And then we start growing up and it starts getting beat out of us.
Yes.
We start thinking that, we've got to make money.
Work
we have
hard.
to work hard.
Yeah.
You
got to make compromises.
Absolutely.
Who wants to make compromises? You know what I mean? Like.
So and that's I think is a huge thing. So you don't have to make compromises.
No, that's God does not expect you to compromise yourself in order to live the life of your dreams. Compromise is a game that humans play. Compromise was not invented by God.
So
okay?
we
put compromise because we have limiting beliefs that say either or, right and wrong, good and bad, and that if I have some, that means you're going to lack. That is a default in our human mind.
Do you think there's also a deserving factor?
Of course.
Which
is also coming from the mind.
Right.
Like, if you got programmed that you're unworthy and undeserving, then you're probably going to be more inclined to make compromises in your life because you don't believe you're worth it anyway.
Right. So I've got to experience some kind of pain or some kind of suffering if I want to get this other thing that's going to be a
exactly. Or like I've got to sell out on this part of what I want in order to have this part. Like okay, I can have the partner, but I can't have the purpose in life. Or if I do my purpose in life, then I'm not going to find my soulmate. You see what I mean? Right?
So you're telling me I can have everything that I want?
Yes.
Awesome.
That's exactly what
beautiful.
I'm trying to say.
This life just got a whole lot more interesting. So,
let me say one more last
please.
little thing about the divine would never place a desire in your heart without the resources to follow through. So what that means for me is that you can't always see where the resources are. And most people have more faith and in their own intelligence, right? In their own mind, like their own bank account, their own resources, what they can see, versus faith in God. You know, like I've seen so many like religious and spiritual people saying, I have faith in God. And I'm like, no, you don't. You have faith in your mind. You are worshiping your mind. You are not worshiping God. You know, because faith is a demonstration. It's the way that you walk your path is with a knowing that even though you can't see where the resources are, you know that God's got your back. So if your heart blows open with the calling, you know, to write that book or go do that, whatever it is, you know, travel the world, whatever, you're going to take those steps forward, even if your bank account doesn't have the money right now, or even if you don't know where the resources are going to come from. You're trusting that if the desire is there, then God has got your back, and all of those resources will be revealed in their divine timing.
And so that's what faith is, that action.
Yes.
That in the doing.
It's a demonstration.
You know,
It's a demonstration.
So,
yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. So, what's an example? So, what's a threshold that you run up against a lot and that you've defeated, so we can kind of see like what that looks like and how like, how do I overcome it? Like I know that I have these things in my mind, but to me they seem real.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, let me use the most famous one, money.
Oh, yeah.
We can all relate with that, right, y'all? Right?
Right.
So I'll tell a story that me and my fiance have just experienced in this particular journey. You know, out to Kansas. So we left a couple of months ago from Florida, and we needed to go down to South Florida. I was officiating a wedding, had a couple of healing treatments, and then we were going to shoot back up, go to Indiana, Chicago to see family, spontaneously over here, right? Neither of us own a credit card, and neither of us have a savings account.
Wow.
Okay, right? And right before we left our camper in Tallahassee, we were going down to Gainesville and to do a healing session. We had just enough gas money, just enough money to our name to have the gas to get to Gainesville. So we were just trusting. What to speak of a 2-month vacation? We didn't save up for this.
Right.
We were just kind of flowing and trusting God. I mean, what a concept, right?
It just seems more free though.
Yes.
I mean, there's just so much being present. You know, and realizing that there aren't any bills to pay right now in this moment, and realizing that the universe is going to take care of you.
Yes.
Then it's like there's so much freedom that opens up, and I think that really touches on the concept that I wanted to kind of actually. I think both of you embody this very well, and that's the concept. And we talked about this, and we've talked about this a lot before. But the concept of the principle of manifesting of be, do, have. So what does that mean? I read about this in the book, and I know we've talked about this before. So what does that mean, the be, do, have?
Yeah, be, do, have. It is essentially saying that we, before we do anything or go out to get anything, we start by choosing who we're going to be. And that's always the first step. We're always being something. We're always being something. And right now in this moment, it's being inspired. I feel inspired to share, right? That's exactly it, being inspired. And we choose our being. So to talk about like manifestation, our experience in going on these travels, yeah, none of that would have been possible if we didn't start by being trust. If we didn't start by being faith. And that people go, oh, okay, well, how do I do that? Yeah, how do I be faith? How do I be trust? And it's not a how-to, it's just a choice. It's a choice. And that choice takes a lot of work. And that choice takes a consistent effort of always choosing that. Because when we're choosing to be something all of the time, that means we have to choose it over and over again. Right. And when we notice that, oh, I'm afraid. I'm being scared. I'm being in lack because I don't think I'm gonna have those things. I'm being scared. I'm being in lack, and that's a moment for me to be self-aware. What am I being? I'm being scared, being in lack. What do I want? I want to be trust. I'm trust. I'm trusting. I'm trusting. And yeah, I know in the spiritual realm and the spiritual communities, like affirmations are really powerful. It's used in. I think affirmations are really strong. And be do have goes. Affirmations are a tool to be do have. And the be do have in itself is so beyond any tool. It's really going deep inward, deep inward, and really making a choice. And a knowing, a remembering, that is who I am. That really is who I am. I really am trust. I really am faith. That's true. That is who I am. And I feel my heart open and open and open as I speak that and feel that. And as we remember that and know that is inherently who we are as a spiritual beings, faithful and trusting and loving and compassionate and service-filled. And when we really know that and remember that and remind ourselves consistently, well, we start having a reality that matches that. We start having a reality that reflects that to us, and we're doing things that we're doing things from the space of being trusting. So we're just driving, we're just going destination. We're just going because we're trusting and we're in faith, and we're being that. And so then we can do, and then we're having the results of that. We're having God drop money in our bank account from friends who we haven't seen in a couple weeks and are just inspired to tithe us or give us money, or people who are inspired to take care of us, literally give us shelter and food for weeks on end. Yeah. And so it's being that first and foremost, and then we can start doing from that space, and then we have a reality that reflects that to us.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I want to add to that too. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like we're like these like hippy dippies that don't do anything, and you know what I mean. Like, and expect God to just always take care of us, and you know, like that. Like, it's a co-creation. You know, that's why I say my book is about co-creating with God, co-creating with Source. Exactly. So the service, like, you know, we're eager and ready to serve. You know, so the service can look like for me personally, coaching, facilitating workshops like that, like healings. And now we have a portable job of door dashing, you know, because, you know, sometimes I don't want to do workshops. Like I need a break, you know, from holding such an intense space for other people. Absolutely. Sometimes I want to do like mindless work, so we door dash, you know what I mean? Right? And so like, it's not that it's not like there's not a doing, like there's, you know, but we've learned how to create.
You kind of tune out a little bit.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We've learned how to create access for ourselves and really know like how to respond in what we're co-creating, you know? So we've made a deliberate choice that our service is mobile, you know, so that anywhere we're going and traveling and being around the world nation, we can serve, you know, and our choice to travel or a choice to do something that's going to cost money, it is not contingent on whether we have money in that current moment to do so. We make a decision and we go. Do you see? Yeah. And it's the decision, it's the choice to trust that the desires in the heart, therefore the resources will follow through. We just don't know where they're at. And the minute you choose yes, yeah, that's when the universe can shape shift and offer you accesses that were not available to you before, because your frequency, your vibration was kind of like in lack and responding to your bank account like that. You're not going to get an access. You're not going to extract an access of abundance from that place.
Right.
So the art of be to have, the science of to be to have, is to choose like, okay, like it's not about like pretending like the reality of your resources aren't there, right? You're like, okay, that's a consideration. We have, what do we have? $12 in our bank account. Okay, all right, we're going to Kansas. You know.
So that's the situation. So
that's the situation.
You didn't say, oh, we have $12 in our bank account. Well, we better go and do this. We got to go and make all this money real quick, and then we're going to be able to go. Or you didn't say, well, we just don't have enough money.
Yes.
You said, okay, this is the situation right now.
Yeah.
So what decision do we want to make from this point?
Exactly. This is our situation, and do we want to go? And that's the practice there, is really listening to your heart, not your bank account, not your resources, not your obstacles. Do we want to come over to Kansas, like when we were in Indiana, right? Yeah. Do we want to go? Yes. Okay. And then the next question, that's all that matters. The minute we say yes, then providence moves with us. And then that's where like the inspired ideas of like what we're gonna create along the way, and then magical abundance pops in from random places. I mean, it's weird, you know what I mean? Like miracles are weird. They're a little creepy, you know what I mean? I like to say God creeps me out, because I'm like, how are you doing this? You know, right?
It is, but that's that magic.
That's the magic. That's the magic.
I love that you said the science of be do have.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I mean, to a lot of people, especially like me, who have a science background, science mind, like some of this stuff might seem kind of woo, like, oh, I'm just gonna be, and then everything's just gonna fall in my lap. But there is a science behind it, and it's tried and true. I think that's really cool. You were talking about what you're gonna create. You're deciding when you're going to get on the road, like what you're going to create. And a lot of the stuff that you do is workshops. I've experienced a couple of them. And in fact, I believe Break Through Your Threshold started out as a workshop?
Before I read the book, yeah.
Before the book, right? And,
Yeah.
and it turned into that.
Yes.
What other workshops do you do? What's the inspiration behind those?
Well, I love to facilitate self-awareness, healing, transformation. I love it, you know. And I work with my guidance, you know. So I've learned tools that that even if I'm just learning the tool, I trust myself and in my ability to facilitate, and I trust my guidance. I trust spirit, right, to help me co-create the facilitation. So so I don't waste time in too many long, extensive like programs or trainings or certifications. I'm like, I got this.
Just like, hey, we hit it with one time and you're done.
I'm serious. I'm like, I trust my source. I trust myself. We got this, you know.
Cool.
And so other things that I facilitate are like breath work. I facilitate family constellations, which is ancestral healing the traumas of our ancestors.
That one was powerful.
Yep, that we still carry in ourselves and our coding. I facilitate, we're about to be doing a self-love ceremony, which is all around going into shadow work and soul retrieval and integrating like more of our light. And then there's a ceremony that follows that. What else do? Those are like my main babies, you know, that I go out on the road. But I worked for a place called the Self Center in Florida, and I love this group of people because they were just hungry for anything transformative. So they'd be like, Gemma, can you come down and teach a class on this? And they would just throw out a topic. I'd be like, sure. And so I'd make up a little flyer, put the word prosperity on it, you know, and go down there. And it wasn't, you know, like there might have been a focal point in mind, but what was happening and what I actually do is I'm facilitating self-realization. You say, I'm holding a space for other people to awaken the God within them, to awaken their own inner light, and to make choices for themselves. Not me guiding their life, telling them what to do, telling them how to think, but me holding a mirror, holding a space to where they get to see their own power and
They can
potential.
see their own power. I
That's
love
right.
how you put the power in the individual to make the growth and to make the change themselves.
Yeah.
And I know that you're going around the country doing all kinds of amazing things, and I feel like we just get started every time whenever we have these amazing conversations. And there's two of you. We're gonna have to do more for sure. I'd love to have you guys back because I didn't even get to like halfway down the page of the things I wanted to ask. But so we're gonna have to wrap up soon. But before that, I want to ask. Well, first of all, where can we connect with you?
Well, breakthroughyourthreshold.com is my website. You can find me on Facebook. Goddess Gemma is my name. And we're traveling all over the place, you know, and it's so interesting that you're prompting me, like, you know, with workshops and stuff like that, because recently I've had a career change, you know. I feel complete facilitating workshops. I'll still do them.
Okay.
I'll still do them, right? But actually I'm moving more into being a musician and comedy and creating a one-woman show. So it's like instead of like doing a workshop to help other people come into their light, how about just be like totally entertained for a couple of hours and then have a consciousness shift. So that's the direction I'm moving in.
I think that's beautiful, and I think that is also helping with the consciousness shift.
Yes.
You're shining, you're being.
Yes.
You know, you're
Having
giving
fun.
permission. You're having fun.
I'm having a really fun life, and then other
Great
people
example.
want to have their fun life.
Exactly. Giving permission, and I
Exactly.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's
thank
beautiful.
you.
So finally, I want to ask each of you, Jimmy, what is your idea of a fully ascended life?
What's my idea of fully ascended?
Yes.
We have how long? No.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know,
Yeah, in 10 seconds. No, but you know, just the bullet points. Like, what do you feel like if you could envision a perfect world, a perfect life? What does that include? What does it look like?
What's missing?
Yeah, I think.
We already kind of have it, but
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it is. I feel like so much like I have thought about that so much. I've envisioned that so much, and I could say like this and that and a million different things and all of my visions of what that would look like. And I feel like for me in this moment right now, what is most true is really just feeling fully complete with this, like right here, right now. That is full ascension to me. Is really just accepting and loving so much this
beautiful.
moment.
Being present.
Just being present. As simple as that is.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
yeah.
Somebody have
Well,
anything
yeah.
more?
The only thing I would add to that is more money.
Perfect.
No, in all sincerity, like we talk about this all the time, you know, like that that there is nothing missing from what we want, you know, like what I've always wanted my dream partner, and he popped into my life, you know, and I've always wanted to come and go as I please, which I do, and I've always wanted to serve and with the aim of co-creating heaven on earth, you know. I've always wanted to feel free, you know. And so regardless of whatever we do from this moment forward, I feel so satisfied, you know, I feel so happy. Like, and I would challenge people, I'm like, when is it enough? You know, because you reach the goal and then it's not enough, you gotta reach another goal and it's not enough. And I can finally say it's enough, I'm enough. Like what I've created is enough, I'm so happy. And if I stayed right here, I would die happy, you know? And so now that I have this foundation, we've created this foundation together, the only thing we really want is more money. Because money's just, I love to spend money. I love to spend it, I love to, you know what I mean? Like I just love to go nuts, you know?
I think that's beautiful. Hey, more money, right? You can't be mad about that.
Ascension.
Man, I tell you, right there. Oh, man, I'm telling you, just being around you guys, I feel like I'm ascending already. I love your energy. I love what you guys are doing. Everywhere you go, you just leave a trail of just inspiration. Connecting with you guys with workshops and just having just raw conversations and communication, real connections. I think that you guys have that in spades, and I really want to do anything I can to help you guys spread that energy out. Guys, check it out, breakthroughthreshold.com. Gemma and Jimmy, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Gemma.
Our crowd, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. Amazing. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. That was like one of my favorite ones I've done. That was awesome.
Yes,
That was
never
great.
see it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.